Hey people. Um, I'm gonna start in 30 seconds. I'm just gonna pour myself some coffee. All right. Let's do this exactly on time for once. There we go. Going to do something completely different tonight. I wasn't feeling it for the mods. I am feeling it for a slightly quicker project. I've kind of done this before, but I didn't do it very properly, and I seem to have lost all of the code for it. What I'm going to do today is make a basically try to get some useful information out of all of the Huxlib's logs that have been posted. So if you're familiar with this, then Huxlib, let me put that there. It lets you upload your log, and the way it does that is it just posts everything as a gist on this Huxlib record keeper account. So this account does nothing else. It just has thousands upon thousands of public gists. So a gist is just a text file. It has some Git features enabled on it, but it's basically just a text file. I guess GitHub isn't very good at loading that many gists, I guess, or it's just crashing altogether. Anyway, the point is, those are public. We can get them. And there's a hell of a lot of information in there. Interesting. There's a hell of a lot of information in there if they work. Please. Today? Cool parallax effect. Oh, that's a new one again. I like the unicorn bun better. Alright, well, this one works at least. Hopefully the API works, because we're going to use the API. So, there's a hell of a lot of information on them. You've got the list of mods that are enabled. You've got all of the assemblies that are in there. Some of them even with the precise versions, or like even build versions in some cases. You've got, for some people, I mean, this is already a stupid list of mods. I mean, that's what, 495 to 3. Almost 500 mods. I don't understand how people even manage that. The list of patches this does is even more stupid. So this is, we're at 500 now. Almost at 1,000. Oh, that was it. Well, let's say almost 1,500, 1,400 patches. That's insane. I mean, that's a stupid amount. So what I want to do is look at that, look at which mods people use, which mods are used together maybe sometimes, look at what patches what. So I want to have like a database from all of these logbooks, and that just tells you like, okay, I want to look at this vanilla method, and then it just gives you a list, okay, these mods patch that. And then you can, you know, as a modder as well, and maybe as a person, but usually I think as a modder that would be most interesting, just to see which other mods touch this method, and if those are popular mods, or if those are mods that I think are cool, then I might want to make sure that I play nice with those mods. Or just for curiosity's sake, like look which methods are the most often patched. Then there's a couple more things we can do. We can look at stuff like this and XML errors. And we can try sometimes to get something from it. So we can look for patterns like this. Something with a class in it, something that looks like a class name, and then we can try to say like, okay, maybe this is from Combat Extended in this case, and we know that because this is the assembly name, and Combat Extended is in there somewhere. Oh, actually, that was the problem with this one. Something is patching Combat Extended, but Combat Extended isn't actually there. If Combat Extended would have been there, we would have been able to find it in the list of loaded assemblies. And then we could say like, okay, this mod is probably causing this XML error. And there's a couple more things, like this one is kind of obvious, like, okay, we couldn't find this type, and we can say like, okay, this is a missing kind of thing. So there's a couple of patterns that we may be able to do something about. I don't know if this log has a stack trace. Traces are also very useful. I don't think there's any trace here. Oh, there's a stack trace here. So this one, for example. We can also look at this, and we can start blaming things that appear in here. So faction blender, again, is it's a namespace actually, and we're hoping kind of that the namespaces match the assemblies. But 9 times out of 10, I found that that is the case. In the previous attempt, I did this. Well, there's some more stack traces here. So the idea is to try and find out, okay, which errors are we seeing a lot of, which mods are related to those errors, and that will give us hopefully a little nice database of things that we can look at. So here's animal variations doing something. We should be able to link those to mods, hopefully. We'll find out soon enough. I'm a statistician, my day job. So this is also this is interesting to me because we're drawing from a sample that by definition has problems. Because all of these logs are posted, well, let's say 99% of them are posted because there was an issue with them. I do sometimes occasionally post a log just because I want to see the whole log or something, or just see which patches there are in that game, but that's going to be a very small percentage of the things. So we need to find out we can see if we can find some measure in which we can say like, okay, from all of these mods that are used so often, we can, and how often do they fail, and how often can we try to blame them? Because for example, if we just look at, okay, how often do mods occur in that list, that can either be because they break a lot or because they're very popular. So which is it? Hugslip, if we looked at it this way, it occurs in every single of these log files. So does that mean that it breaks 100% of the time? Or is it because everybody uses Hugslip? Well, according to this one, they do. But so we can try and see something, do something with that, and then maybe get some secondary sources of data. So I was thinking I might add a little bit of logging to my mod manager to get another source of... Okay. I'm just going to finish my monologue here, Pelador. I'll come back to that because I'm not sure what you actually mean with that. Although I think I do. But anyway, let me. We can look at Mod Manager and see if we can get some usage data. Yeah. Okay, we can get some usage data from mods from that and try to compare like the rates of usage we see there with the rates of failure that we see in Hugslip. There's a couple of problems with that again because these might not be similar samples. People that use Mod Manager might use a different set of mods than people who use Hugslip, but I think we can probably assume that they're fairly equal. We can also look at subscribed counts on Steam and see about popularity there, and then see like, okay, these mods are very popular, but they're hardly ever in our log files for people who break, so that might say something. Yeah. Okay, so Palador is pointing out that it's entirely possible for one mod to break because of another. That is absolutely true. It happens a lot that like the first error messes something up completely, and then everything after that just fails. It just cascades into failure, and RimWorld explodes. That happens a lot, and I mean, this particular, I have this in my history, so that's why we're looking at this one. It's actually one of those cases where somebody asked me like, yeah, something's going wrong, but I can't figure it out, and I just had to tell him like, yeah, you have a bunch of errors in there. I don't know. Like start fresh, because so there will have to be some massive asterisks next to it, some massive caveats, but we can see how far we get, and yeah, it's just a nice project to see if what we can get from this, because I would just like to see like what kind of information can we get from these things. So I've already started a tiny little bit. Hopefully it's going to start going a little bit quicker. So I've set up what I think would be the environment a little bit. At some point there's going to have to be a front end, sort of. There's nothing there yet. We're going to have to fetch the logs from the GitHub API, so the Gist API. So that's what I just got started on. We need to create a module to do the actual parsing. I think that the GitHub API should be fairly straightforward, so I hope we can finish that in like half an hour or something. And then the parser is what I want to spend probably most of tonight on. And I want to use, because I've played with it before, I had to use it for my work, and I want to get to know it a little bit better, is Nearly, which is it's a context-free grammar kind of thing. So basically it takes a grammar, and a grammar can be anything. It can be an entire language, or it can be a programming language, is what it often is. But you can take something that has a given structure and try to extract the individual data from it. It's kind of cool. So yeah, I want to see how far I can get with that. So we'll be looking at errors only on load. I have no idea yet. Bladder. For now, I'm just going to extract as much information as I can, and then we'll see what we can do with it. This is also a nice change from my day job, because as an academic statistician, you always need to have an idea of what you're going to do. You need to have your questions straight, your methodology, and then you can do your approach. And then you find out that actually the data is completely not matching your questions, but you can't do anything about it anymore because you already handed in what you're going to do, because you have to do that scientific integrity and everything. And then you find out, like, yeah, that actually doesn't work, and then you can start all over again. It's like, So this time I'm just going to screw scientific integrity. I'm just going to look at the data, try everything, see what works, and then do that, which is fishing and terrible. And I get, like, I tell people a lot that, like, this is not okay when I do consulting stuff, but I can do it now. Yay. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into it then. We're going to be using node.js, so that's JavaScript. I personally like TypeScript just because it looks more like C# and it keeps me, it stops me making stupid mistakes, because I make a lot of stupid mistakes if I just use pure JavaScript. Subjective interpretation with statistic politics mod next. But I still want to make a mod where you do the you have like a crime and punishment system, so you keep track of like the kind of stuff pawns do, and then you have like a judge and jury, which are other pawns, and then like have some kind of interaction there, and make them. It's Dwarf Fortress basically, but whatever. And then I was thinking it would also be cool to let pawns decide what is a crime. So what are the morals? What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? Like, are you going to run some kind of colony where it's not okay to have personal possessions, or it's not okay to have clothes that are too expensive, like some kind of over-the-top communist Pol Pot kind of thing, or a super Christian thing where you're not allowed to have sex before marriage. So if you catch pawns having sex when they're not married, then off to the gallows with you. That kind of stuff. That would be awesome as well. But completely different subject. Not going to happen tonight. So let's get back to my project. I've just set up a just a little starter thing. It's been a while since I've worked with TypeScript, so please forgive me if I'm being an idiot. Set this up so you guys don't get to see my secrets. This just loads my secrets from an environment file and puts it in the environment and everything. And I'm really hoping I'm not going to show any secrets anywhere at some point. So otherwise I'll just have to reset my API token. As you can see, I already got started a little bit. Yeah, so I was just going to test if this works at all, because the like the HTML version of it was kind of broken, but time to use curl on a random generator. Yeah, good luck with that. This is the GitHub. I'm pretty sure they'll block you before you even get anywhere close to guessing the correct token. So let's say this is the gists, and then we'll just await that result. Like I said, I haven't played with TypeScript in ages, so we're just going to see what we get. Ooh, nothing. Awesome, because I do actually need to call that. Okay. Cool. So yeah, we actually get a bunch of stuff. We get owners, which we're completely not interested in, and we get a list of objects with URLs. Forks, commits, don't care. Push pulls, don't care. The HTML, I just want the data for it. Is that files? Yep. I just want to see how much information I can get from all of the log files that have been posted to Huxlib. So you're only examining mods that have git logs. This is not. It's not. Yeah, I did it as well at some point, Adolf, but I seem to have misplaced the code that I used for that, so I don't have it anymore. We're not looking at individual mods that are posting stuff, Pelador. We're looking at the output logs that have been uploaded by people using Huxlib. So there's of course some overlap, like Huxlib will always be there. But the other mods that are used are, doesn't matter if they use Huxlib or not, it's just that like they happen to be run in a game that had a bug and somebody uploaded the log to Huxlib. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Like there's fluffy breakdowns in there. I'm pretty sure that didn't cause the error. I hope so. I don't know. No, it's fine. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the actual because I want to get the gists. It's all public, get a single gist. There we go. So we need to get the gist ID and then we should be able to get it. But let's look at what they have to say about it. Yeah, it just can have multiple files. Which is silly because it should really just be one file, but whatevs. But we got this files argument as well, so we should be able to just go directly from that. And then probably just get the raw stuff. So, let's try and use breakpoints. I've never actually used breakpoints in this shit. Why not? This is in dist, right? Yeah. Yeah, alright, that should work. You did yours as a Discord bot? What does it return? What kind of analysis do you do on it? Well, this should work. Right. One of the things I mostly want to do, and the first thing I want to look at is which mods patch a given method. So I want to build up a database of all patches that have been done over time or something. And then you should be able to just query that. Doesn't look like it should be too difficult. I'm doing unrelated stuff, obviously. Oh yeah. I should check him for Fluffy at some point because he kept his name in his mod names. Do I? Alright, screw this. I'll figure out the debugging stuff at a later point. We'll just go the old-fashioned debugging way. What do we have then? We have data and then we have files. No. Is this a function? There we go. Probably does. Alright, here we go. This is kind of what we need. We get the files for every hug slip, and there should only ever be one per thing. So we can basically just get the first one, and we get a raw URL, which we should be able to just fetch. Yeah, that just gives us a text file, so we should be able to just grab that. Seriously? The hell is that? Do I even want to know? It still amazes me how many patches people use. Just stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Alright. That's silly. Has nobody told them they shouldn't be doing that? That sounds like it's bad. Okay, We have a list of entries and we have a list of files in that. So let files be gists, data, and map files. One. Oh, just files. You don't want to do multiple ones. Oh, they are in an object. So now I'm getting a like a named object for each one of them. That's just silly. Whatever. Yeah, true that. Fair enough. I kind of want to get just the one file from everyone, but because this is an object, that makes it slightly trickier. Yeah, I haven't looked at Combat Extended in forever, to be honest. Basically, since he stopped going to the old modding Discord, and he left for like a year. No, it's an object with keys named for the file names, which is slightly annoying. Which reminds me that I should be able to do objects values, because I really don't give a shit about the file names. Yeah, okay, so that just gives me an array of one object for each in that array, so I kind of want to merge these again. And no, it's basically JavaScript, just with some type protection on it, but still. I know there's a flat map thing, but I'm not sure if that's... Is that default? It appears to be on a stream only. No. I think that is in Lodash though. So we could pull in the library. I mean, this is going to be a server-side script anyway, so it's not like it matters. Flat map. There you go. Flat map. Very useful little function. Alright, let's just put it in. What are you complaining about? Sure. That lets us do and like that. I'm terrible at this. I haven't done it in ages. Let's find a declaration file for Lodash. Yeah, we've done that. Just reload the damn thing. Yeah, sometimes. Curious, ever worked with SCSS? Yeah, a little bit. I never got good at it, and I always forget which if I use SAS or SCSS or Stylus or what the difference is between all of these things. Goody. Why are you bitching? You're not actually bitching when you go compile, so why are you bitching here? Sometimes the whatchamacallit, like the error detection in the actual file doesn't keep up with the error detection of TypeScript, and I have no idea why that happens. Like we're in TypeScript. Maybe use that one. Are you going to? Ha! That worked. Goody. And flat map is now a thing, right? No, it didn't work actually. Yesterday I was supposed to change something, felt weird asking what the hell I'm looking at. But SCSS is a cascading style sheet, right? It's CSS. It's just a version that allows you to nest thingies. And like have variables in it and make it actually usable at an enterprise level. Right, that seems to have fixed things. Just had to do it manually. Why do I always make this make it harder for myself? So what we get is this is an array, and then there should be the files in there. Yeah. So why is it doing something completely different there? Because I'm not actually logging it, and it's just giving me the. For fuck's sake. Alright. I like learning new stuff, Adolf, which is sometimes a problem because I tend to be a little bit of a jack of all trades. Like I never really settled down enough to get expert at anything. I just like to get good enough at a lot of things. Just not ideal when you're an academic, because generally speaking, they want people that are really good at one or two things, which also makes most academics really annoying because they're, yeah, we call it in Dutch a vakidioot, which means that they're great at their specific little thing, but they're idiots everywhere else. Anyway, some of my colleagues might be watching, so hey, didn't mean you, no offense. We got a list of files. Now we just need to get the actual contents for all of them, which is easy enough. So we just call it logs. We'll make it wait promise all files map. And here we just want to get the contents of each of those files. So we need to get ourselves a workable request module, and I think fetch, was it node fetch? I was looking up what the current fashion is these days. Yeah, node fetch. All right. One of the funny, awesome, super things about the JavaScript environment is that it changes every week. Like every week there's a new current fashion, and then like everybody suddenly uses a different new hot package or library or whatever. It's just always amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. Being really good at one or two things is a much easier way to like make a career, to be honest. And it's like a large part of why I got depressed and like had a burnout kind of thing, whatever, is that I never felt like I was good enough at anything. So because I was also at my work, I'm in between subjects, and I'm trying to connect like statistics and educational science. Working with online doesn't matter, but I always feel like, okay, I'm not doing pure statistics anymore, so I'm not good enough in that department, and I'm not like I don't actually have a background in educational science, so everything I do there is mostly stuff I just picked up or I think is cool. So I always feel like, okay, I'm missing all of the theory and background there, so I don't feel good enough there, which is yay. But that's part of the reason I'm doing this, because at least this I sometimes feel like I know what I'm doing. Maybe. Terrible idea. How do we actually use this damn thing? Yeah, sure. Fetch is required. Yeah, we're not gonna do that one. No, I don't care. Alright, well, that's easy enough. Cool. Import a fetch from node fetch. Yes, you're going to want typings. We can do that. Awesome. And you're going to complain because it conflicts with the local declaration of fetch. Do I have a local declaration of fetch? I do indeed. Let's call that get logs, because that's what it's going to be doing. Right. And for each of these, I've got like a log file. Let's call it that. And we're going to say fetch log raw URL. And then we want to say, what do we want to say? Is it in the den? I suppose it is. And then we just want to get the text. Right, but let's take this and give it a little bit of space so we can see what we're doing. We're going to fetch this. It's only I have 6 more months until my contract runs out, and then shortly thereafter I should hopefully be Dr. Fluffy. Yeah. Yeah, he will equally had a breakdown. So I wore that t-shirt. Yeah, it's amazing how many people you run into that, like when you talk about it. So I put like the badge on all of my Steam stuff. It's amazing how many people recognize it and then like say like, yeah, I also went through that and yeah, want to give support and everything. So that's, yeah, really cool. But yeah, I'm trying to focus on the future, see the positives in things, recognize my own achievements, which is terrible because I'm terrible at that stuff, but needs to be done. Then we want to get the text for this, so that's the res text. Was that a function or a property? There's a response text. Yeah, it's a function. And we want to catch. Do we want to catch it here? Yeah, we kind of do, because I just put it on the console and then that should work. And if everything goes correctly, then we'll just spam it to the console. Again, I should really figure out how to do the damn debugging stuff, but I can't get it set up and I don't want to spend hours trying to get that worked out. So we'll just keep... Well, that looks like it works. Getting a giant data dump, but yeah. All right. So, two things I want to do. We need to save these somehow. Let's just put them in a file for now. We're gonna like feed them to the parser later, but that's later. And I want to get a time from them, so we can, because now we're just fetching whatever. I don't even know where it starts or like if it's paginated or whatever. And what we want to do, or what we'd like to do, is be able to say like, okay, we're going to download the files every day, and then we just get the files since this morning or since the last time we got the files. So we need to get that set up. Yeah, that's a little bit of playing with dates and date formats, which is always fun in JavaScript as well. Wrong buttons. So many wrong buttons. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this is just the logs. In these files, or in this data, I'm sure we just went over this. There's a time in there somewhere, so let's try and get that as well. Or is that for each file separately? No. Oh yeah, we got created add there. Updated add is probably the one we want to use. Alright, let's add moment to the list of unnecessary libraries that we're going to use. So moment is kind of a massive library that's not normally, shouldn't normally be your first choice, but it kind of massively simplifies working with dates and times and stuff in JavaScript, which is otherwise a giant pain in the ass. Hi. What we want to do here is basically get the latest. How fluent am I in JavaScript, TypeScript compared to C#? I have a different skill set, I would say. Because my C# knowledge is like entirely limited to RimWorld. To be honest, I've tried to make a little bit more of a library code, console stuff. Even tried the UI some points, but I don't know. I didn't have enough motivation to do that or something. I just again didn't get it working. JavaScript, TypeScript, in general, like web interfaces, I'm much better at in making apps in, kind of. It's just easier as well. Like that's also the reason I did like the standalone mod manager. This is an Electron app, which means that it's basically just web stuff. It's HTML, JavaScript, and it's Vue.js. So that's like you've got Angular and I always forget the other one. React and Vue are like libraries to make responsive, reusable widgets and things like that. So yeah, this is much easier for me than creating an API or like a UI from scratch. Like I know how to do it in RimWorld because I spent a lot of time doing that. Like that was actually much easier in the end, even though I know that it's actually much harder to do probably. But yeah, just never got around to it. Different skill sets. Okay, I want to get the latest time from all of these ones that I have here. So if we can get, let's just call it the time from the gists data. We can reduce this. And that's a function that has yeah, sure. So if latest is undefined or moment, is list public for user response item. I need to get the time in there. Update. This moment is greater than what we had so far. Then return. That should do the trick if it lets me. It's probably going to complain about that one. Why does it need to be the same type? That's annoying. Can I type you? No, because then an argument for initial value is not provided. That we can fix. Moment 0? Is that somewhere giant in the past? Oh. Yeah, that's gonna be in there at some point. I'm trying to do this the fancy way. I could just loop over it and do it that way, but moments. Just data. Not later. So if it's not set yet, or basically do the same logic. Current equals moment. Or current latest is current. Right, that should give us just the latest timestamp that we have so far. So we can return that as well. So then we can just return an object with latest and logs in it. Why latest is used before being assigned. Can I make you undefined? No, because then you will complain that you are either that or undefined. Wow. Alright. Let's just see what that gives us. Nothing, because I'm not printing it. Yippee-ki-yay, I'm such an idiot. Oh. Is there by any chance anybody looking who knows how to set up the debugger for a TypeScript thing? Because I really prefer not to have to use up my API credits. And this is kind of silly. It's also not working, so that works. It's because I'm not actually returning this. But they should have. Yeah, it did have a latest thingy there. Ooh, lots of print. Why is it printing everything? Why is it green? Alright, anyway, that looks like it works just fine. So this is our fetcher. One last thing we need to do is give it the ability to use a since. Basically, We'll just define the options for that API call as a separate object. Seems like there's a short link for it. Welcome to the chat, Stormcrow. Yeah, I was looking at that before. Do I have to put on the... Thanks for the follow. Yeah, I mean the source map is handy, but shouldn't be entirely necessary, but we can add that as well. Where did it put the launch file? That's in here. I don't know why it's doing that, but sure, that wasn't the complaint. The complaint it had for me is like, why is this not working? Because this should be working. But I guess then it needs to have a source map to make that work. Because this is pointing to the TypeScript, and this is pointing to the output. And I'm doing that as well exactly the same way. Well, using the proper slashes. So then maybe the entire problem is that I have to use source maps? I don't know. Let's find out. There, source map. And now we have lots of conflicted shit again. Because let's turn the sync off. Alright. Put a breakpoint in there and try this again. Ooh, it's doing stuff. Sort of. Why am I not seeing? Please start a debug session to evaluate expression. Oh, so I still need to run this or something. No, I am running it. Why is it not? Oh, because I'm not actually calling the function, so it never has to go in there. So it doesn't have anything to debug. Yay. So if I do this now, then you will do stuff for me? Give me errors. Empty value for parameter username undefined. Yes, that is entirely and completely true. Because we need to add ops in there, and we need to say that if since is defined, then we will add that to the thing. And ops will be an object of class octokit. Just get all list public for user params. There we go. Yeah, awesome. So now I can do that, and I have stuff, and we're here, and now I can actually look at things here. And yes, this is so much awesomer. Thank you. So this is, I guess these are the most recent ones. And even in the future. Time zones. Amazing. So yeah, if we want to do like previous ones, we will have to go into the past somehow, but we'll figure that out later. For now, we can download some of them and that works. So I'm happy about that. Goodie. Is it obvious that I don't normally use the debugger, even though I should? So I also want a way to just store them and to write them to a file. And I'm wondering where I should be putting that. Let's just do it in here for now. I'm going to change this later because this needs to be like a background task that will run periodically to just keep the database up to date. But for now, I'm just going to make a little function to get some logs, and I don't really care about getting them all and everything. So we're going to store logs and make that a new function. Async function store logs. There we go. That will get a logs object that will be this kind of object. So let's create some interfaces to define what that is. Because that will be logs. This is kind of overkill, but whatever. And this is, at this point, just an array of strings. So we're going to tell this function what it's returning. And that will be elogs. Why are you not complaining? Cannot find name elogs. Capitalization. It's amazing. And why are you now complaining? Must be global promise. Yep. Undefined is not assignable to that. Yes, but we're pretty sure it's been defined by now. I thought that worked these days. Isn't the bang an operator now? I need to be in a session. I had a node session open somewhere. Or was going to have a node session open somewhere. For... Oh. Oops. Why am I being an idiot? That works here. Why shouldn't it work there? Import for a moment. For a moment. It's the previous project. Yeah, this is stuff where I still get confused about like JavaScript and TypeScript as well. It's like, why are there tons of different module systems and what is the differences between them and stuff? I just don't use them enough to get that and make it work. Perhaps this was not a brilliant idea. This could be void because if it catches something, And then return. Just put the error in the log. At least now this is always a string apparently. Yeah, whatever. Close enough. Try const moment is required moment. Yeah, that's the old way. That should be easier. Yeah, sure. Should have done that from the start. The thing is that it works in the actual in the TypeScript file, but I guess that's just because it's TypeScript. Yeah. So kind of what I just wanted to see is, what is that? Great. Right. Good enough. So that's the Unix epoch. Just kind of what I thought it would be, but that means that we can just initialize it as something far into the past, and we don't need to bother with this possibly being a null. Right, putting that in if we've got given it, putting a new call, getting all of this, that's all working fine. We've got the store logs here, we want them to be logs. Logs are just strings. And we need to give them names, Do we care? Not really. But we probably should give them some sort of name. I just have no idea what that name should be. Let's just take a hash of the log and store it as that. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna parse them and dump them in a database anyway, so we don't really care about storing the actual logs. I just want to store some of them now so that we have a small test batch to test the parser on. So we're just gonna loop over the file logs and write them one by one. Simple as that. So name is MD5 a base thing or some kind of hash? Doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to give me a hash, some sort of hash. Cipher, decipher, hash. There we go. Yeah, that's the pretty way of doing it. I just like do me an MD5 or something. Give me the simplest interface you've got. There you go. That's what I want. Yeah, got millions of downloads. I'm sure that has typings. Goody. This is how Node modules becomes a black hole, by the way. Never do anything yourself, get packages for everything. Alright, we need the file system. We should be able to do that from here. No. Import right. I forget what the actual name is. Let's from fs. Let's just write file. All right, that'll do. These logs can potentially go into the hundreds of megabytes or even gigabytes on your local drive. So if that were actually the case, then we'd have to handle streams and stuff like that to make sure that we can actually write them without running out of memory in JavaScript. The thing is, though, that if your log file is that big, GitHub is going to reject it anyway. So we should never get log files that are more than maybe a dozen megs or something, which is not going to be a giant issue. Hopefully. If it is, then we're going to have to look at streaming interfaces and everything, but I'd really rather not. Write file. The path will be path join. I need to include path though. Path from path. This is going to be, where are we putting this? Just put it here, and then name and some sort of extension, but that will have to be outside of here. Plus .txt. And the actual data in there is going to be the log, and your encoding is going to be UTF-8 because that's always a sensible default. You are complaining because we got the path, we got the data, and why? I'm pretty sure this is the syntax for it, but apparently not. Which overloads have we got? Options, write for options, callback. Huh, did they change that? Am I an idiot? I'm an idiot, obviously, but... So this is options, and then we have encoding, and we can do the same kind of thing anyway. No? Type no param callback object. You know what? You just fucking guess your encoding then. Not provided. Oh yeah, I usually use modernize, and then you've got a nice promise API, and here I have to do this with screw you. All about synchronous. But I haven't imported that. That'll do. And then I should actually be able to just give the encoding here. Yeah? Yay! That writes everything. Let's spam ourselves a little bit with some logging here. Okay. That'll do. Need to call that stuff. So we're going to get logs, and then we have the logs, and we're going to say store logs on logs. Pointless. Oh. Sure. Error. Anyone knows his file directory? Oh yeah, shit. I need to make a folder. I call it data. And now we have a bunch of files in here with the actual logs. Awesome. That's good enough for now. we need to clean this up. We need to make this a background task on some kind of server, but we need to get that server set up anyway. We're probably going to do that in a Docker image or a bunch of Docker images with Docker Compose, so that we have we can put a Mongo database in there. We can put a public-facing server on it, and then just put it on a small online thingy, virtual server. It's what I usually do. That's later, much later. For now, we've got a little bit of data that we can play with. We've got a working proof of concept. That's good enough. Let's switch to a different project. Or actually, let's just switch to the overarching project so that we can have them all at the same time. So this is the fetcher that we've just been working on. We're going to look at the parser now. So the parser is going to be another little nodes program, utility, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to work with nearly. And we're going to have to define a grammar for that and compile that. Shouldn't be too hard. And then we should be able to get a nice structured parsing and get like the kind of data out that we want to get out of it. It's going to get a little bit trickier than that, but let's just get started and see what happens. A console window, please. Hello? Going into the fetcher, no, parser. And we're going to initialize a new project here. Yeah, sure, this will be 0.0.1, fat that later. This will be dist index.js. Later, okay. MIT is fine, and we'll make it public later. We're not actually going to expose these as packages on like the index at any point. I just like keeping things in separate packages, and we can always import local packages in our apps. Right, so that's the basic thing. We are going to need nearly, which I think is nearly C or nearly. Let's find out. So what nearly is, I already showed it quickly in the beginning. Yeah, it's a parser toolkit for JavaScript. That's what it says there. Basically, it takes a structured piece of text, which can be like natural language, but then you need a very large grammar, which is like the rules of that text. The example here they give here is just different forms of giving colors. They also use this kind of thing for programming languages. So you can program language is by definition a structured language, and then you can use a parser like this to parse that and then do things with it, or actually like compile things as well. So it's generally speaking, as far as I understand it, because I'm not, that part is way out of my league. That's generally speaking the first step in like actually compiling a language as well. So what we're looking at is this one. I don't actually want to install it as a global though, I think. Although no, I guess I will, because it's we're not actually going to use is it that way? Huh, no. Why was it not? We're not actually going to use nearly itself in our app. We use nearly to compile the grammar into like an executable parser, and then we need to use that parser in our app. So that will just be like a JavaScript file, basically. So yeah, this should do. Remove that because this is bullshit. Should have done that the fancy way, or the proper way. You can remove it from our from our local installations again, just to make sure it's properly gone everywhere. All right. Let's make a new file here, or like a folder first with our source in it, and we're going to add a grammar to that. And this is going to be, we're just going to call it a grammar.any. So I think that's what they use, yeah. And Visual Studio already picks it up because I've worked with this in the past, and it knows that this is nearly, I've got a nearly extension, so it gives me a little bit, it's not brilliant, but it gives a little bit of syntax highlighting, which is helpful. Right. So this is a very short example of what a grammar looks like. And that's not a good example. Yeah. I would love to explain this a little bit more as I go, but it's been too long for me as well, so I kind of also need to refresh myself. But basically you've got production rules, which are these kind of things. And this is saying like, okay, we've got an expression that's, in this case, it's a mathematical expression. So that's a number plus another number minus, etc. And a number is defined as a sequence of one or more 0 to 9s. So this extra stuff is a little bit of extra syntax around it, and this is just saying like it can be multiple. I don't know if they actually explained that anywhere, because that is not normal. I guess that's the more syntax. Yeah, you can make commands, sure. This is kind of like regex. This is also regex. Regular expressions, sorry. And I guess this is also similar then. So this is probably 1 or more, 0 or more, or 1 or 0. I'm assuming that's the same kind of thing. Yeah, so you can have any kinds of nanas in front of Batman. I swear this has changed since the last time I was looking at it, because it looks a lot more like regular expressions now with actual like capture groups and everything. Anyway, so let's start from the top. We have a log, And a log is made up of a header, then it has well, let's just grab a log, put it next to it just to see what kind of sections we have on it. Come on, there we go. So we have well, let's call it a timestamp in a log. Then we have the mod section. Then we have patches. Lots and lots of patches. Oh, there we go. And then we have, well, let's just call it the content. Content we'll leave as a blanket catch-all for now. At some point we'll want to see if we can catch like stack traces explicitly and XML errors explicitly, because those are things that we can work with. We can try to extract some information from, so again, like class names, things like that, and try to link it to mods if it is at all possible. Like, we don't actually have the mod available, we don't have the XML for the mod available, so for example, we will never find out what RC2 cookjoy mail base is for, at least not automatically. But if the XML mentions that, okay, could not instantiate this class or something, so for example, if here it had fluffy floor type def, then we could find out that this comes from one of my mods, potentially. Anyway, we're not going to do that now. So then we need to define what is that. So what is the rule for a timestamp? And first we also need to say, like, okay, there is a line break in between. Well, so what I like to do is I have my terminals, so things that go to a string, as capitals, just to distinguish them. So there's always a line break in each of these, behind each of these sections, so we can put that in there. And this line break may also be multiple line breaks. So we can also say that this links back to itself. This kind of shit starts to get to your head quickly because you get recursive things and stuff. And one of the nice things about Nearly is that it's much better with recursion. Like, you can have left recursion, which you normally can't have in a lot of the parsers are out there. So this should theoretically work, I think, unless I'm being an idiot again, which is also entirely possible. Okay. We know that the timestamp has a certain structure. So it will always have log uploaded on and then something else. I want to, for now, just capture everything on the rest of that line. I'm not 100% certain on how to do that, to be honest. Okay. So this is how you define a macro. And interesting. Is that useful for us? No, not really. I kind of need to know in how far does this follow regular expression, because I could just use the period to match anything. Like essentially just using a period and a star is like match anything up to anywhere. But I don't want to do that, or at least I want to be non-greedy about it until I find an end of line. Doing a mathematical thing is easier, to be honest. Well, we can just have a play around with it. We can say this, the timestamp, log uploaded on, and then just add period star, and then we want to have a line ending, so that would be a break, to be fair. Right. Mods. Well, let's see if this does anything at all first. I'm really not. I don't think this is going to work, but let's find out. No idea what the syntax for this is anymore. Right. Grammar.js, and our input will be source grammar. Yeah, it's going to complain about undefined symbols being used. Sure. Let's just do it like that for now, and we'll feed it one line at a time. If I remember correctly, this is the test one. And our input will just be this. It's not entirely what I wanted to do. And that will be on the grammar that we're using. Alright, so it's not giving us any results, but we can see the chart that it's using. Not sure that will be terribly useful here, but let's find out. It's going over the first rule is the log rule, then it's seeing, okay, is this a timestamp? It's going over the string that we defined, that's all good, that it finds. And then it's trying to match this stuff, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how that is supposed to work. I mean, it's matching it a bunch of times. It's not actually doing anything with that. see if we can find anything about this. Yeah, this is the stuff we were just looking at. Yeah, it's not terribly useful. Maybe we should. I know there's an online like test thingy for it. Maybe we should just use that. Pretty sure there was a one where you could actually play with it. Yeah, of course it did. What do you expect it to do, Adolf? Yeah, okay. That is slightly off. It's probably trying to like load it into memory several times to parse it for several different things or something. I don't know. I'm annoyed. Yes. This is what I was looking for. Right. Let's get rid of that. Well, let's keep it. No, actually, this isn't very interesting. Let's get rid of that. So does it match if we do it like this? Oh. Yeah, that matches because it'll just match whatever. Oh, wait, that is what a generate button does. It generates something from my grammar, which is nice, but not what I want to do. I want to see that this thing works. Okay, so we have a timestamp. We don't need the break line actually after this. Does this auto update? And this should work. And this is Grammarly being annoying. Yeah, just get rid. Go away. I mean, if I use this one and change something in here, does it update? So if I say here that it has to have this, yeah, it automatically updates. Stop pressing save. So this is just terribly wrong and bad. And ooh, I cannot have a line break after it. That's the problem. So if I have a line break there, now it says no, but if I press enter, then it says yes. Yes, that's something. So this will have 3 elements, log uploaded on that. It will have whatever content is in between. And it will have a line break, which in this case is apparently just translated as a space. Okay, let's get fancy. You can use post processors to capture the second part of it and give it a slightly better. So I can use either the ID function, then it will just return whatever text there was in there, or no, it will just return the first element matched. I need to have a quick look at. I have way too many tabs open. No, 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 no. Oh, screw this. I need to have a quick little look at the post processors, because there was a particular way that you could get the like the raw matched elements from it. It's not that hard, but you just need to. So you get data. Oh, you just get one argument, which is data. I think you can get more if you want it. Yeah, this location is the index, and yeah, if you later on we might use this. For example, if we start parsing the output log, like the actual contents of it, then we could use the list of assemblies that we have to see if we can match any stack traces. But we'll get that later. Don't need to do that now. So this is simply, we're still working online. This will simply be a function data, and we will want to return. So this is just JavaScript. We want day 1, which is the array of catch everything, is this term, to be day 1 join. Stop trying to upload massive logs. It helps. Alright, join defaults to using a comma, so we'll have to give it an argument with nothing in it. Right, that gives us now 3 parts to this. We don't care about the first part. We only really care about this date thing, which might be useful at some point. So we don't even need to do this. We can just return this part. And then we just get the string back with the date in it. And let's just strip that as well, or trim it, just to get the leading and trailing spaces out of it. So this just gives us a nice date string. Yeah, that's nice. Then we've already got the break line in there. Then we get the mods section. So the mods section starts with Loaded mods. Well, let's just copy paste a little bit of this. And we'll need to add this to it as well, because otherwise it won't work. Right. Mods start with loaded mods. Then it has a break, and then it will have one or more actual mods. Well, it will actually always have multiple mods, because whatever happens, you will have core and Hugslip. Thanks, Adolf. I know, making assumptions is the mother of all evil and everything, and I shouldn't make assumptions like that. But I was pretty sure I was safe in this case. Alright, we need to define what a mod is. And a mod is... can we resize this? No, I don't think we can. Because this is kind of... this is actually multiple mods. Or this is one mod over multiple lines. This might get interesting. I think it's anything up to like this separator. Let's see how far we get with that. So this worked fine so far. That will be the name part. Then we want this part, and then we'll have one or more assemblies. And again, assemblies will at least be one, because even if there are no assemblies, it will still have this part on there. This is where I always get confused. I think I should do it this way. That might make more sense. Then I can say assemblies is either assembly. No, it's either, you can just add it in directly, no assemblies. In which case we will return an empty list. That still needs to be a function, but whatever that function gets will return an empty list. Or it's a symbol assembly, in which case we will return a list with just that in it. Or it is a list of multiple assemblies. We don't need to do that as a separate one, actually. And in fact, if assembly just returns what it should be returning, then this will turn into an array automatically anyway. I'm pretty sure GitHub allows up to 1 GB, but since the Hugslip framework absolutely doesn't work with it. Yeah. It could be your internet, I suppose, if it's a timeout. And an assembly has it has a name part. So Let's just call this string. We keep reusing this pattern. It's periods. That one. Assemblies have a name part, so when we're looking at an assembly, that's this. And then they can have either a single version string. Yeah, I want to get assemblies as well. Because for one thing, there's a link between the mod name here and the assemblies it uses, and in the patches it only lists the assembly it uses and not the mod name. So if you want to know which mod it came from, you need to know what the assembly was. And later on we might want to use it for stack traces and see if we can find something in there. Anyway, so we need to know that an assembly is a string for the name part, and then it has it opens a bracket, and then it has a version, closes the bracket, or it has a string, it opens brackets, and then it has separate assembly file versions or assembly versions, and that will be a version again, and then it has a comma file version and version again, and then it closes. I think that captures everything. Then we need to know what a version is. And the version is a number, period, number, period, number. And so far, everything always has 3 or 4, but I'm not sure how enforceable that is. So let's say that this part can have any amount of thingies in it, and then for the version we'll just slap everything together. But let's start with this, or for the post processor. Right, I'll make this prettier a little bit. It kind of annoys me that it's not on the same level. This is still not working, so there's something wrong with it. What could be wrong with this? Oh yeah, there's a break line after every mod. And we've got an undefined symbol number, which also doesn't help. So number is 0 to 9. So let's just quickly check that this version thing is actually working, because I'm not convinced. Cool. A version, not convinced. So this should be 0. Should already be allowed, to be honest. Oh no, I don't have a number in here now. Right, so 0 is allowed. I need to work with the input a little bit, because this is not quite what I want. And this should also allow like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. And as far as I'm aware, these are hard-coded, that they cannot have like beta components or something. That's an assumption that's going to bite me in the ass later. Anyway, so that part is working. Let's add the assemblies part to it, or let's like take the entire mod part. Any reason you want to save it as a number? No, I'm not saving it as a number. Oh, parsing for numbers. Yeah, you're right. I really don't give a shit, do I? So theoretically, if this now said no assemblies, that should work. Great, that does work. Or it could be, let's say, fluffy lib with some sort of version in it. That also works. Cool. So does a real one work? Oh, now we're actually looking at the whole mod. So mod. Oh, let's just copy it from there again. Yeah, I'll try with just using string again, because frankly that should be fine. So this is not working. Because I don't have break line defined here. I'm pretty sure I don't want it to be repeating. And this is still not working. I feel like this one should be working. It will if I press enter. Alright, let's work with this simplified example for a little bit. And clean up our output. What is that parser you have going on there? This is nearly. It's an early parser, the early algorithm parser. You're gonna have to ask a more specific question if you want to have more information. I did try and explain it a little bit before, but this can just return ID. I think I'm not sure always. I always forget whether or not it needs to. It really doesn't matter. So the thing is that we now get an array of 15 for like this, for the string, which we don't want. We want that to actually return the string, pretty much always. So this is data in. Then we just join that with nothing. And we probably want to trim it, but let's not. I'm a little bit confused why it's still using commas in between. I feel like join with nothing should have stopped that. Maybe? Oh, don't really care. I think for version we can probably just say string then. Why is it doing this? Why are you being such a... Alright, this actually makes perfect sense. This should be happening. But why are you still giving me commas? Am I misunderstanding what join does? No. What happens if you put a different sign in join? Yeah, nothing much. I think this is just an error in the playground, because this should work. I'll put a plus there, nothing happens. Is it supposed to be showing that there are different elements? Could it be the You mean this entire thing, Fishbrains? This nested array of things? Then yes. That's like the raw output from it, and that's what I'm trying to do with the post processors, is turn that into something I can use. Could it be that it has a string as char arrays? Some languages do that. Yes, JavaScript does consider strings to be char arrays. But even then, I mean, am I joining them again somewhere? Don't think so. We're not using number anymore. This break can return null. Pretty sure that works, but we'll find out soon enough. This returns ID. It's entirely possible that this is where it's going wrong now. Yeah, that this is somehow turning it into an array or something again. No, apparently not. Alright, this is going to be slightly bigger, because here we get 5 tokens, 6 tokens, token 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 6 tokens, index 0 to 5. Index 0 is our mod's name. So name 0. Then we have an assembly version, which is going to be index 2. And a file version, which is going to be index 4. And that wouldn't work that way, because if you want to return objects, you need to do it like this. Right. Ah! You worked for a millisecond. Possible infinite loop detected. Check your grammar for infinite recursion. You were working. And you're working again now, so I don't know. Alright, but we're not actually using that one ever anywhere at the moment. So we're looking at this one, which I want to return the same format. So the name is still the first one. And here we just have both versions is the second, or is the third element, so index 2. And now this should be slightly neater, hopefully. Yeah, it's still adding commas everywhere. I'm going to assume that this is a bug in the playground, but we'll find out later. this can just return itself. Are you sure this is not just how it represents strings? No, it represents strings as an array of characters. Like you can turn it into token mode or something, and then it tries to match whole tokens at once. But otherwise it represents them as an array of characters. And especially in this case, this is how it... this is actually literally just an array of characters, because we're telling it to match a single character, any character, and do that like any amount of times. So that's really just... And then we're joining them here. Like this isn't yeah, maybe. So if I return, so ID is a thing to just make it return whatever went in there, and then we get this. Then we get an array of individual characters. If we, that's the same thing as just saying this. Like return the array. Well, this is clearly going wrong at the moment, actually. Oh wait, I wanted to change this one. Doesn't like that. So this is the mod, and this is the name of that mod, and that's fluffy lib. And then this one is 1.23, etc., etc., etc. So I mean, if I just return day, then it gives me an array. So if I return day, or d, sorry, Dutch shining through, join, then it should, but it doesn't. Just return join as well. That should work actually. Keep returning a function join. Apparently not. Oh well. This is confusing me. I don't like when stuff confuses me. Anyway, so now we have an array with one object in it, which is like the one assembly for this mod. And what I wanted to do is, this should be just passing through. I want a mod to actually give like an object. With like the mod's names and the assemblies in it and etc. So we've got name again is data 0 and assemblies is data 2. So now what we get back is one object with a name, Fluffy's awesome mod, and a list of assemblies, fluffy lib 1, 2, 3 in this case. For increased stack, we get back the name and assemblies, and that it tries to parse still as this, because it can also parse it. Yeah, this makes sense. So a string is allowed to be null. I don't think it should be allowed to be that. A string should have at least one character in it, because otherwise it's not a string. And then we actually get an empty list back. That's better. I'm seriously freaked out by this, because I thought it was working on this side as well. Like we had the Fridays thing we had worked out. It's... yeah. Yeah. I'm an idiot. You're right, Adolf. It is the string representation. I needed to use the 0 index because this is the first token, and that token is itself an array. Dope. Anyway, the good news, that works. So let's extend it further. We now have mods in there. Data. This is basically just going to return an object with mods in it, and mods is element 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now we can say here this is loaded mods, and it's not allowed to have a space. I don't know if it actually has a space in a thing. No, it doesn't. And then we should theoretically now be able to have multiple things here. So this whole thing should now be able to work here. As long as I put an enter by it. This gives me a bunch of zilch objects. Why is that happening? It's matching. Did I miscount? 0, 1, 2. Yeah, I miscounted. Awesome. And apparently this has a bunch of different solutions, which is why it's giving me all of these return values, because apparently you can solve this thing in many different ways, which is interesting to me. Because they all return the same thing. How I've solved this in the past is just say, screw it, we'll just use the first one. But maybe that's not the way to actually do it. Alright, we know this timestamp thing is working, so we should be able to just post that in as well. And we'll give this is going to return us time is day 0 mods I don't want this to be nested array. I think it's going to be nested if I do it like this, but we can figure it out as we go along. This is going to be 1. Right. And now we need to actually put a timestamp in front of it. And then I think we've basically got the whole thing. Did we have it before? Yeah, we kind of already had it before. Oh well. Just missing the error and the enter on the end. Sometimes I feel very dumb. But apparently this is not good enough. You can hear her, by the way. This is Ada. Ow. Ada has very sharp claws and likes to sit on my shoulders. What did I fuck up? And this is now literally what I have here, right? And then this one is working. So the only thing I changed is a bunch of that stuff. That shouldn't really matter. Let's try and copy it back, see if that makes any difference. Yeah, it does. It breaks things. Is it the break? Can't be. Maybe it is. Well, let's allow that then. Nah. This really annoys me. We were so close. So the loaded mods part. Kittens and pressing random buttons on keyboards, am I right? The loaded mods part is working, albeit returning way too many different possibilities. But I don't think I can actually see the like the parse tree here. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I mean, they're all identical as far as I can see. Okay. And they're all working. Well, actually, this is not working. Oh, is that it? Are there different ways you can parse this? Yeah. Yeah, of course. There's a bunch of different ways you can parse, like you can parse this whole thing as one string, or you can parse it as multiple ones, and then go from that. So if I make this actually a version properly again, then that would probably be a better idea. She's playing with the mouse. But okay, let's. No, I need to fix this because this is going to screw us over as well. We need to stop this counting just being a string. That's not working. This can be like an alphanumeric. If we just do that, if it's like allowed to be numbers, letters, and periods, then we cover almost everything, and a dashes maybe. So we should be able to do A to Z, A to Z. I have no idea how this works. And 0 to 9 plus a dash and actual periods. I guess we need to put that in. I don't know what we did for the numbers before. No, didn't need to do that. So I guess it doesn't like to do it this way. Or wait, no, this can be any amount of them. Right, that does work. We're still getting lots of different parse trees for some reason. But this is looking fine actually. So let's say we return this as I'm going to get rid of string because it's too broad. We're just going to do the same thing again. So this is just going to be day 0 join without anything. Right, and this is I'm going to add a separate thing which is going to be name, which is going to be allowed to have basically the same thing, right? No, this is allowed to have more stuff, which is annoying. I think that might also always, this might always lead to multiple parse trees actually. Let's just reinstate string. Alright, I'm going to comment out this one and just look at the offending basically it's really just only the assembly that is the offending thing, so we can comment out even more. So yeah, now there's only one way to parse this. And I think children's school and learning was also causing some problems. So let's pull that one out, make it a test. Yeah, and this still has 3 ways to parse it, which is what our problem is right now. What this is 4 ways even. This is why we get so many different parse trees. So this is not what we want to see. Because this has parsed 2 of the assemblies as part of the file name. I'm not sure how to stop it doing that, to be honest, because there are no limits on what is allowed to be the file name. And I'm not sure if Nerly has like a what's the opposite of greedy? Is it this? Does that work? No, I really think this is just 0 or 1. No. Is this just the same thing again? Yeah, that's not helpful. So this is ENRB. Well, that's not what I was expecting. I could just like exclude stuff. So let's make this a name and differentiate it from string. And a name is henceforth allowed to have alpha z, it has capitals. I don't think we even need to do this, we can use the I, right? It's allowed to use 0 to 9. It's allowed to use a regular point. It's allowed to use a comma. It's allowed to use a space. Invalid syntax. Why is this invalid syntax? I don't see how this is invalid syntax. Maybe the... No, okay. Not allowed to do it like that. No. Where did I put the I? Never. Nowhere. Behind it? No. What ifs? We'll just add A to Z back. Right. Huxlip works. Children's school and learning doesn't work yet. Why don't you work? What is wrong with you? I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, but there probably is. This is just going to be the same thing again. You can also just define this as a little function and then use that function again and again, but this is just as simple right now. Alright, so Huxlip is still working, great. I'm not happy because this one is not working. Yeah, because this is a whole mod. This Huxlip shouldn't even be working. Oh no, that's an assembly. I am an idiot. But we knew that already. And why was it doing that? Alright, no assemblies is working. And assembly plus is not working. Oh. I mean, that part is working and parsing correctly now. Now I just need to get this part working again. Let's get rid of some of these tests because they're starting to annoy me. These we know are working correctly and we've got them in there as well. We just want to test a mod with things. That's not working. But core, for example, is working. Why? This is two mods. I should really just record stuff beforehand, or like make it beforehand. and then just have it on my second screen and just copy it as I go. Then I will look brilliant. I guess it will be less fun, but I keep running into the silliest stupid errors and feeling ashamed of myself for it. This will work for now until we run into a mod that uses a different character, which is no doubt gonna happen. Like if any mod now uses like a semicolon or something, that's gonna break things horrendously. Because if I use string in here, wait, now it doesn't? Now it only gives me one parse tree? I'm so confused. Okay, apparently I fixed it. Can you use a find and swap? What does that mean, Fish Branch? Yeah, is it? Like look for the characters before you load in the data and replace any of them with something you want. Yeah. Mm. The problem is that it's just not unique characters. So the delimiter between a mod and the assemblies for that mod is a colon. But the mod itself, like for example, this is the name for Huxlip. That also has a colon in it. Which is interesting, because that seems to be working and giving only one parse tree now, so that's nice. So I don't know how I would just grab that one. Apparently it's now actually working, and I am using string again for the mod name at least, and the assembly name is just a name, but that's actually fine, because assemblies are much more limited, because those are file names. So those have a lot more characters that they're not allowed to use. In fact, are those even just file names? It doesn't matter. So, I mean, and those typically really only have alphanumeric characters anyway. Never seen anything else. So I think this might actually work. There's just one little caveat at the moment, and that's that I need to get rid of this comma for multiple assemblies. So basically, I should remove this, and this should be returning it's going to return an array anyway, so this doesn't need a processor. Or this can be assembly. think this is going to blow up in my face. I mean, it's already kind of blowing up because it's not working anymore, but... Why are you not working anymore? I mean, you should at least work on this, right? Yeah. I mean, this is breaking now. Because it's... Yeah, returning too much shit. Really. I want that one. Okay, this is the one causing the problem. Yeah, because that should be assembly. Or just assembly. No? Still no? Yeah. And now I need some fancy post processors here, because otherwise this is going to go terribly wrong, as you can see. This is going to be... I just want to return an array. Let's just deconstruct that one again in it and add the second one. So that's the new one. And this is not actually an object, which also means that we don't actually have to wrap it in that one. This may work, or it may not. Why is this not working? I would really appreciate it if you actually gave me some errors or something. Unexpected. Is this new? No. I would expect it to give me a syntax error for that, but it didn't. Just mildly annoying me. Right, so now it's actually giving 3 objects for that. That's great. And for this single assembly... no, it also needs to deconstruct that one, because we're going to make this also return an array. So that we always, how many assemblies there are, it always returns an array. That's not necessary. Because this isn't an assemblies. This is just a single assembly. Right. Let's add this stuff back in, see if it breaks again. Yay! Why? No, it already has it in there. Stop it. So now it should really just be looking for the timestamp. Log uploaded on string still exists. Break line. So I don't understand. Why? That was working the first time, but not this time anymore. Now it's doing the comma thing here again. No idea why. Like, I'm not crazy, right? This is actually what it's... So we said that the string has to be at least one character. Other than that, this is all fine. Nothing special about it. Maybe we're syntax erroring somewhere again. Alright, so this is somehow syntax erroring. Because I don't need to... I added the join logic to the string itself, so if I take the string token here and then try to join it again, there's nothing to be joined, so it's going to fail, obviously. Yeah, sorry about that. I think we finally got it working now, though. There we go. This is the entire stack that we wanted. Good. Only took us 2 hours. More, maybe. Not too bad. I've had worse. Let's wrap this up in a nice object. And yeah, well, let's do that first. Time is day null. Mods is the 1. And this is now returning log uploaded on, which is not actually what... Sorry, it's not what we want. We want the time zone, and we do still want to trim this one. Or the time zone, the time. And this is what I was afraid of. It's now giving us a nested, triple nested. So this doesn't need to return anything of the sort. This doesn't need to return an array. This just needs to return D2. Object time. No, and now it's just an array. That looks more like it. Hey, you can't. You can just barely see her, but. Alright. She's gone again anyway, so. Okay. So we can extract mod names and the assemblies in the mods. That's a pretty good start. I'm happy with that. The next step is going to be adding the patches to this. Yeah, let's just see how far we get. But can we give this a name? Yes, we can. This is time plus mods. Let's add a new tab for the patches. We can add this stuff in because we're probably going to need it again. And we're going to say patches is one or more patch. So it's either patches patch or patch, or it can have no patches. No, it can't have no patches because then it just wouldn't show up in the list. Would it? No, I mean you could have an error log without any patches, so we need to find that one. Does that exist? No, that cannot exist because Huxlib itself does a patch. So any log uploaded with Huxlib must have at least some patches. Yeah, like these other languages. All right. So then this is where the patches start. With the break rule, and let's just do it this way because we've been doing it so far. That was you're being really annoying. She's demanding attention. And must be at least one of them. A patch is, so let's add a bunch of them. That's weird actually. Apparently it is possible to have no patches, but still show up in the list of patches. Do you have any idea why that would be possible, Erdolf? Like this bottom one. Armor utility apply armor, no patches. Why is it showing up then? So in Huxlib it gives you a list of patches and one of them is this one. But it says no patches. I can probably get more viewers if I show the kitten instead of me. Anyway, a patch is composed of it's composed of a class, or well, let's call it a member. Well, it's always a method. Harmony instance was created, but nothing patched. But it's not. This is not Harmony. These are not Harmony instances. These are classes that have patches applied to them, or methods that have classes patches applied to them. Like all of these other things. This is a method. It's a method. And let's call this a patch list, because each patch is actually something else. Hey. Or alright, she's gone. Let's go back to it. Yeah, it's just kind of funky. Not something you would expect. So it's got the method name, then it's got a colon and a space, and then it's got the actual patch, and then a patch, and it can have one or more patches. We should be able to do that in a capturing group with this applied to it, but we don't know if this one is there, and this one can be that. Define symbol, patch, and method used. Yes, I am aware. Method is just a string. Well, let's say it's a name. It's even more restrictive than that, actually, but well, let's add it to our list of possible string versions. I'm sure we could simplify that somehow, but this has a little bit more in it. So it's A to Z, A to Z. It can have numbers in it, definitely. 9. It will have spaces or points, periods in it, and it may also have underscores in it. It may have greater than or lower thans in it. I'm not even sure if I need to escape those, but we'll find out soon enough. And this again will be exactly the same. Right. Then a patch. There was a patch call, but no pre-postfix to transpile is applied. Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I guess somebody's work in progress code got uploaded or something. Alright. A patch itself has an operator, and then again a colon, and then it has a method again, which is a link to the actual patch code, which I think is technically not necessarily a method, is it? No, it is. I'm pretty sure that should theoretically work. And an operator is one of these things. It is either trans, written in capitals, or pre, written in capitals, or post, in lowercase. Why? I wouldn't know if you beat me with a stick. Don't beat me with a stick, please. Okay, I guess we need to take it smaller again first, because apparently this is not working. Like that. Let's move you down for now, and then method is the first one. The first one is normally, it defaults to like the starting thing. So this should count as a method. I'm just gonna let the kitten out. I think she wants to play with her brother or get some food. Or I'm not actually saying it should have a period afterwards. It should work like this, but it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Probably because I don't need to do this or something. No. Just a sanity check. Did I add the period? Yes, I did. But if I do this, then that should work, but it doesn't. Because reasons. I need to add this part to it. I am such an idiot, idiot, idiot. Alright, so now even these compiler generated junk methods should theoretically work. And they do. Great. Alright. Let's see if a patch actually works. So patch has an operator and the divider and then the method. So this is a patch. That works. Yeah, and it has the operator there and the division thing and then the actual method. Okay. Goodie. A patched method. Next step. Has the method and then one or more patches. I'm pretty sure this is where it's all breaking down, this little part here. So maybe I should try to test that separately. But meh. Can I undo that? No. Oops. It's gonna be something silly, like I shouldn't have a period after it or something again. I can call this list of options a little bit. So we just have like one of each possible thingies in there. Alright, so this is actually working. And then theoretically, we can have post method, and that should also work. Because now we have two sets of patches. These are just terrible and everything, but yeah, okay. Okay, that's working. Then I don't see why this shouldn't be working. Because after the patches there should be a break line. Right? Yeah. Break line, one or more patch methods. Oh. This now has to have an enter, but no, it has that there as well. So this should be working. Area manager is working. Oh, it's this one. This one is not the proper. I need to do that one. So a patched method can also be a method basically just hard coded to no patches, which is silly. And a line break. I think. No, damn it! Why not? So close. All right. So then it has to be this one, right? Yeah, this is not working for some reason. And this is not working because is there a character which I forgot to add to my list of inclusions or exclusions? I mean, these are all just numericals. Got those covered, got those covered. Maybe it is actually this? No. Alright, well, let's go back to basics and say we want this to be a method. I'm pretty sure we tested this already, and it is. This is a method. So that's not our problem. There's a plus there. All right, now each of the patches separately are getting through. This is no longer a thing, really. Oh. And then we just need to get all of the patches together through, which, fingers crossed, works. Brilliant. Let's make sure these actually work nicely. We need to give all of these we can just give them the ID. Yeah, because that takes them out of the no, I want them to be lowercase though. 0 to lowercase? I always forget this stuff. Yeah, to lowercase. Basically do that on all of them. That gives us our operator as a nice string version of it. For the patch itself, yeah, we just want to create a nice object. And the object will have operator that will be data 0 and target. Is this a target of the patch? What would you call that? Replacement patch? Let's just call it patch method. Let's just call it a method because that's what it is. That would be index 2. Frankly, this should just return undefined. Bugger off. You're pointless. Let's do this one first, and then the other one, because the second one is going to be slightly tricky. This one just needs to return the 2. Yeah. Now we have a null in there. Why do we have a null in there? I was pretty sure this was going to... No? False? No. Right. We can do this another way. We can. This is our data. This is our index, and this is like a function that we can use, and then we can say function false, I think, and that means it won't get called as a match. We don't want to do that because that will just destroy our entire operation, because then the whole thing won't match anymore. So we do have to make this match. So let's just return undefined and we'll filter it out later. So we're now... What the fuck is happening here? Okay, yeah. So this is actually the target. We're going to return an object again. The target is the first index. Then the second index is this thing that never has anything. And then I'm wondering what happens there, because I guess this is going to be some kind of nested thing, judging from what we saw before. So let's make it return something at least. And this is now just going to be the target thing, yeah, obviously. I think what we saw is that we have the index 2 is now an array. We can see that easily enough like this. So index 2 is now an array. It's doing it again. It's just quitting on me. Index 2 is now an array. The problem is that each of those is also again an array. Oh, wait, no, yeah, because I want from index 2, I am only interested in the first part, so the actual patch. So I need to do this, let's call that x for now, and then I want x0 from each. And then the patches gives me an array of 1, which is a transpiler for that method. The other one gives me also an array of 1 that's a postfix for can-binge now postfix. Then if there's multiple, then whatever. It's in this one. It will have 2 patches if it doesn't time out on itself again. I mean, it's working for a little bit there, so it is not actually an infinite loop, because otherwise it would have failed much harder, much earlier. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Anyway, these are 2 patches which are both an object, and those are working just fine. Hey, Putin Roaster. Welcome to the chat, first of all. I am not a Python programmer. Honestly, I'm no kind of programmer. I just do this as a hobby. No, I'm for my work, I work with R. I'm a statistician. So I work with R mostly. I sometimes work with Python. I sometimes work with TypeScript or JavaScript, Node, etc. And for my hobby, which is mostly what this channel is about, I normally work with C#. I mod like RimWorld mods. But we're now actually working on a little side project, and that's mostly in JavaScript, TypeScript. And this is actually something entirely different. It's a grammar, ENRB grammar, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I am not Danish. No, I'm Dutch. I think this works. We just need to check if I got the syntax for having multiple patches on one thing correctly. And I didn't. Because I assumed that each patch would be would have like the patch type and then the target of it, but it doesn't actually. It's a list per patch type, which is not entirely ideal. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the accents, like the Northern Germanic kind of accents, are kind of hard to distinguish sometimes, especially in like different languages. So I don't blame you for that. I mean, personally, I would like to think that my English is perfect and I don't have an accent whatsoever, but I'm afraid that ship has sailed and that's just not true. I used to have less of an accent. I used to play World of Warcraft a lot with mostly English guild. So you pick up their accent or lack of accent, which was yeah, interesting. But I haven't played in ages, and I haven't played any online games actually, so I'm just talking English with my mostly Dutch colleagues, so we all have terrible accents, and it's not good for your overall language skills. Right, so I made the assumption that a list of patches would only happen here. That is partially true, but it can also happen here. So it can have multiple target methods. I'm not sure if it's the language or the country that speaks English best. We certainly do speak a lot of English, yeah. To the extent that a lot of Dutch people are annoyed why we speak so much English. Yeah, what can I say? They start at primary school these days, so when kids are like 9, 10-ish, maybe even earlier, they start learning English, and it never stops. I think even earlier. I think even in kindergartens, some of them are now teaching English as well, or multiple languages at least. It's just a little bit overdoing it, if you ask me. But our university actually recently switched to using English as the official language. So all communication of our university is now in English and not in Dutch anymore, which is upsetting some people to no end. Which I don't care. I work in English. I hate it when I have to do something in Dutch. Like all of my research, all of my work is in English. So then sometimes I have to make a report or a presentation to people in Dutch. And it's like, I don't know the words for anything I do in Dutch. It's like, anyway. We can basically just change this to methods. Well, no, let's leave this one in method, and then we'll add a different one for methods. To keep this a little bit more. No, screw it. We can do the same thing as we did on that one. It's exactly the same logic. So it's a method with it can have a like a comma and a space behind it, and there's going to be at least one. Then we need to change this. I want this now to always return an array of patches. And that array is going to be based on this array of methods, which is likely mostly just going to be an array of 1, but still. So this is going to be the to map It's going to be in a method, so just call it m. We have d0 there, and this is going to be m0. This is getting stupidly complex. I usually don't like this kind of complexity, but theoretically this should work. Doesn't, but it should. Right. We'll just make the patch the first one. So these things should now match again. No, these are patched methods. What should match is this. And it doesn't. Probably because I've got a syntax error here somewhere. Apparently not. I've got something else wrong. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Oh yeah, because this is not how it works. Duh. This is how it actually works. Still doesn't work, but hey, getting somewhere. It's complaining about the recursion thing, so maybe like that. No, still not working. How are you about one single? Not much better. Let's take you back to just a single method. That works. And if I allow you to have that, that doesn't work. Why? Because I need to actually allow you to have it, okay? I guess plus is doing something different than what I think it does. No. Heh! Works for one. Doesn't want to work for multiple. Why? Why though? Alright, let's take this even further down. Let's just take it down to the level of method. I mean, this should already match, really. I don't understand, because I don't see what I'm doing different between this one and that one. Alright, so now if it doesn't break again immediately, this matches. This also matches. If I put that in a group, it still matches. If I say you're allowed to have any of these, it doesn't match. Because infinite recursion. Yeah, because now the null option is always available, but plus should work, because that's always... A method should always have at least one character in it. Really, honestly. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing my mistake. By doing this, I'm allowing it to not have a comma behind it. So I can, like, the more I do, it's just taking like all the different combinations that are possible. So that's quickly going to get near infinite. Yeah, so I can't do this one. Fair enough. Okay, but then I know what I'm doing wrong here, so that helps. So this is either just a single method. Let's do it like this. And methods can be a method, or it can be methods, comma, method. So we allow it to be infinitely long in methods in itself, but and the method is not ever allowed to be 0 characters. And the same goes for all of these things, to be honest. None of them are allowed to be 0 characters, because that just leads to infinities. And we do not like infinities. Is this logically consistent? I think so. Which does lead to the question, why working? Because I think this one should now work. Operator methods. Operator method. As day. Syntax errors. Okay. What I wanted to change here is I want to make sure that these are always arrays, because we can now have, and I don't like that we get nested arrays, so we can get like multiple operators, and then each operator can have multiple patches behind it. So I'm going to map any patches, like any operators that have multiple patches, to like single objects. So then we just get multiple operator patch combinations. So if we had 3 patches in the pre, then we'll just get 3 different patches things. It will make sense when I do it. So this is just going to return D0 and D2. So this just creates an array for those things. If there's only one of them, that still needs to return an array. This will already be an array. I don't need to do anything for this one. Let's just make it specific. This is ridiculous. And we do the same kind of thing here. And we want to return for D2 map. This is going to be a method, and yeah, we do want to create an object here. Right, so at the moment that just returns a bunch of empties. Apparently that is a syntax error, because this was working before. Is this already a syntax error? I could have sworn these were working, right? Yeah. I can't just use it. Oh, I'm such an idiot sometimes. You need to return an array with D0 in it. Nonsense. Yeah, you also don't allow that. Sure, whatever. I guess I need to also I just wrap it. They know, and D2. Right, that's working at least. Okay, that's also working. But this is not returning an array now. Yeah, that's better. It's returning an array of 2 elements. And that changes it. Yeah, sure. Okay. And this is just an array of 1 element. Great. That's what we wanted so far. We want to return the 2 map. Just say right, that works. Let's make this harder. Now we get a no. Return an empty object. Okay. This will be operator. that will be D0. Awesome. And the method will be M. Just M. Good. Making progress. Ellie. The set. I don't know if you can see him. Nah, he's cowering behind me now. That's our dog. Okay, that was working. This is returning nulls now. Not entirely sure why you're returning nulls, but okay. Oh, because it has two possible parsings. Amazing. I think we need to give this one the same treatment as we did with the other. Even though a patch is much stricter defined, so that can't really go wrong that badly. But we're still somehow getting two different parse trees, so we should probably look at what's happening there. So this looks like it's arriving at exactly the same solution, as far as I can see. But like even with no patches, it's arriving at two possible conclusions, which makes no sense to me. So maybe I should just remove this and see what the difference is there, because that might be easier to debug. So it can either be completely null, how? Like it cannot possibly be parsing that as a patch. I don't think I actually need to do that one. I'm not seeing why it has two different parsers, which is annoying me. Anyway, this one Needs to be flattened again now as well. I think. Yeah, because patch is now an array itself already. It's an array of arrays. Isn't it? Yeah, patch itself is an array. So that whole D2 thing is an array, and this is again an array as well. Oh, God. So what? We just map that again? I don't think that's no that. Boop, 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 boop. This is what I ran into when I did it for work as well. It's just at some point the whole nested arrays shit is getting to you. And I didn't even use this the live editing version for it then, which does make things easier, granted. It just annoys me that I can't seem to figure this out. So this is an array. I mean, that's what I'm mapping already, right? I mean, that's the whole point. If I did it like that, then I had an even deeper nested array. No, that one. An array in an array. No. Patches is an array of an object. But it's still the same. Why is it still the fucking same? This shouldn't be still the same. Alright, okay, that doesn't matter. It will just be a nested array for now. I'll deal with that later. It's not the end of the world. At all. I can add this one in front of it. I don't need this one anymore because I've already got that defined. That also stops the double parses because I just had the rule double in there. I didn't even know that was allowed. I thought you needed to use the pipe operator for that. But apparently that's not the case. Right. That makes things a little bit better already. Okay. I mean, what am I getting here? So I'm getting an object array. Why? Object array? Interesting. Oh yeah. I stopped this one returning useful things. This should just return undefined. And it at least will be null. Sure, I can live with that. Complaining about infinite recursion again, but not really. Alright. So this gives us two objects because we have two actual methods being patched. And for each of those we get an array with an array of patch operations on it. And in this case it's two arrays of one because we have a we have a post and a trans. So if we had, we could have another method there, and that would lead with two arrays of things, and one of them has multiple. The other has that. This is just a problem. It's not like, yeah, I'm spreading them out, I'm mapping them, but then I still use so what is this x null? X null refers to, x refers to this whole thing, and x null refers to this one, which is an array. Is there keep forgetting that I'm already in a browser. Really? You fucking kidding me? Sorry. So I think if I just do flat, single patch, which is immediately an object, and this is an array of 3 patches. Awesome, that works. Not touching it anymore. Method is a new thing here, so we can add all of this. And go patches, patch method, methods, operator, all of that jazz. And method is that one. Still don't like this. Going to make that a plus. And that a plus. Okay. After mods, we now have patches. And that's also going to be the end for me, because it's getting quite late. My fiance has already gone to bed, so I'm just gonna test if this works quickly, which I really shouldn't be doing because it's undoubtedly not going to work. Ooh, actually, it does. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm happy with this. So what have we got done today? This took a little bit longer than I was hoping for, but we've got all of the first elements that I wanted to get out. We did get them out now, so we can take we can get the timestamp out, and it's trivial to return this timestamp into something that we can use if we even wanted to. I guess we might if we want to see like developments over time or something. That would be cool. Have some graphs showing like, okay, this mod had a lot of problems back then, or like they had a version bump, or you can get all kinds of nice data out of that. That would be nice. We can see well, the mods that are active and which assemblies are in those. So we've got 5 mods in our little test thing here. Core has no assemblies. Well, it does, but in a different way. And then like Huxlib is using 2 assemblies, which is Harmony and Huxlib itself. Children, School and Learning is using 3 assemblies. Harmony, Children, School and Learning? No, Children Helper classes. You wonder why that isn't just in, but not going to worry about it. So yeah, this mod is using 1.2.0.2 of Harmony. Wasn't that like a buggy and retracted release? Or have I just missed something? Either way, so this is, yeah, it's giving us the information we want for now. I think this weekend I'll work a little bit more on this, probably at various times. I also have to do some household stuff, but I'm home alone, so probably a lot of streaming. I want to extract the kind of information we're actually looking for. So it's wearing armor info. I think it existed at some point, Erdelf. I think Brains made, like, he released it very quickly, and then it got retracted or something again. But you'd have to ask Brains about it, I guess. I mean, this is what it says in the log, so. Maybe they copied it from somewhere? Either way, doesn't matter. At least, not for me. So yeah, this weekend I want to work a little bit more on this, extract the information that we want. Well, first we need to put it in a database, then extract the kind of information we want, build a rudimentary user interface around it, and then yeah, at least see what we go from there. I still want to add like more of the I would like to see how far we can get with well, blaming mods. I don't like the word blaming, but giving mod authors an indication that there might be something wrong with their mod. Let's put it from that perspective, so that their mods are often showing up in error logs, and that maybe they should take a look at that. And then they can have a look and identify, like, okay, this is actually not at all my fault, if they want to. Maybe, probably not, but hey. And the other main use that we can do anyway is checking what patches are on what methods, and I think that will be quite useful to have as a public thing in there. And either way, I just like doing it. Maybe at some point we'll make like a Discord bot as well for it. Anyway, it's been fun. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll try and be a little bit more productive tomorrow, but I say that every night, so hey, you never know. Good night. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's not actually exiting right now. Thank you, Fishbrains. Thank you, Adolf. Have a good night. Thank you guys for hanging out again. And I'm now actually going to try and quit the stream. Yes.